So today we're reviewing
Insidious.
Yeah, so we are continuing the Halloween series. We are on to Insidious. This is one of the scariest, creepiest Halloween movies ever. Remember watching this as a kid, and I remember having nightmares about this movie. This movie is one of the main things I think about whenever I was in a room alone or in the dark. Think about this movie. This movie is just an excellent movie, one of the best Halloween movies ever. What are your overall thoughts of this movie?
Well, I definitely second all those opinions there. Obviously, this was probably the first real horror film that I watched as a kid. I remember watching this film downstairs in our big movie room, and I remember the entire movie. I basically was looking at the couch the entire time, except for probably maybe two scenes. And one of those scenes I looked at was probably the scariest scene in the entire film. Yeah. And like you just said as well, I had probably multiple nightmares of this movie, different kind of scenarios. Yeah, obviously it's a really great horror film. I think it was directed by James Wan. Probably his first. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this could be his first real horror film he did, at least big scale one that we knew of. Because ever since this movie was filmed and we watched this film, James Wan really took off as far as his horror films go.
His credibility.
Definitely was a great movie, and yeah, I mean it's probably one of the best horror films of all time.
Yeah, I think it could be one of the best of all time. Definitely, at least in modern time, and recent time, at least the 20th century. Because there are just so many excellent scenes, and the atmosphere in this movie is just excellent. It just creeps you out. The music, everything about this movie it makes you unsettled, and is just really creepy. Beyond the main main antagonist in this movie, the demon, we call him the red face guy, or Darth Maul. He really is creepy, and has a lot. Fire. Yeah, the face is that actually his name.
Well, that's on YouTube what they call him.
Yeah, okay. The Face of Fire. Whatever his name is, he is really creepy. He's in a lot of different scenes. But even though it's really not even his face, it really is just the atmosphere in this movie. There's certain scenes where you just imagine things. They leave it up to your imagination. Like one scene with a character looking up at the ceiling and saying she saw something. It's just an empty shot of the ceiling with nothing there. But it's extremely creepy because of how great they make the atmosphere in this movie. But I guess, what are some positives?
I just think the music, the setting really just make this film what it really is. Because like you said, I mean, there are some pretty scary scenes and some pretty scary demons that you see in this film. But really the focus of the reason why it was really scary for me is really just the setting, the music, and just how real it looked. Like a lot of films, it just, I don't know, it really takes you out of it. But this one, you could just really imagine this family living in this house, and just every scene, I feel like every... yeah, they did jump scares, so it's not I know sometimes we rip jump scares, but there's a way to do it in a good way.
Yeah.
And, building up suspense, and also the jump scares that really just catch you off guard. Usually films you can catch jump scares coming, from a mile away. In this one, there's jump scares that happen that, like I just said, one of the scenes I looked at when I watched this, obviously I've watched this film all the way through, watching the entire film. Just talking about the first time I watched it, the jump scare that got me was one that just happened absolutely out of nowhere during this conversation scene, and that's just one example of a scene like that we'll get more specifics, we'll get into more detail later. The setting, the music, the acting, and just the way that the film was created, and just how there's a lot of things they don't really reveal too much until towards the end of the film, because like you said, there's a lot of just building up to it starts kind of small with different things they see, and I don't know, I just thought there's just a lot of just absolutely amazing horror-like scenes in this movie, and the music and setting really just make those even scarier than they really are.
Yeah, I guess if we had to go into some specific scenes, I guess one in particular is... So, one of the scariest scenes in the movie is definitely when you've got the main parents talking to the kind of paranormal person coming over to try to help them and explaining stuff about Dalton and what's happening, and they get a creepy shot of zooming into his room, and you see the actual demon in the corner of the room, his shadow, and then he's pointing. You hear something cracking, and then the face actually appears behind him. Absolutely terrifying scene, and that is one of the scariest scenes in the movie, like you said, but in a really scary scene overall.
I can still hear that voice.
That made me jump for sure.
I mean, just a quick correction. The person that was in that scene was actually his mom, I'm pretty sure.
Sleeping in the bed?
No, the girl that was telling the story with that when that scene happens, it's basically his mom.
Oh, okay,
I'm
that's
pretty
fine.
sure. I mean,
Well, whoever it was, the mom was
the old lady
explaining,
wasn't
but-
there yet at that point. But
Were
anyways,
were you the demon in this
but
scene?
anyways, though, that was probably the scariest scene in the entire film. Other ones that I wanted to hit on here kind of quick was a couple that happened like towards the beginning of the film. Was, I guess the movie starts. I'm pretty sure it starts like with this like a zoom in shot, which once again James Wan has that really long shot right out of the gate. I think it was like into this house to like the clock, and like this, it just like I don't know. It's like it's super loud, and it says Insidious, and like it just it really just like engulfs you into the film and just puts that like. I can't even describe the music. It's like a violin type thing. But honestly, like I remember like when we first got this film, it was from Redbox. So I was thinking like this is gonna be a horrible movie. I mean, you can watch movies on Redbox, but my expectations were kind of low. But then honestly, ever since that opening scene and just the music, like this is gonna be pretty scary, and it definitely was. And
even the title's scary.
Yeah, the title's scary, and then a couple scenes that really it's like just to show why this movie is so good as a horror film. Like there's scenes towards the beginning that don't show any demons at all, zero blood, but it's this front door scene where like all of a sudden like it's like they hear knocking and then all of a sudden they go downstairs and the door's just wide open, but the bass drop mixed with the music just makes it so scary because like for one it could be, I mean it could be like just like a normal intruder in the house with the door open like that. I mean that alone's scary, and then obviously when you mix in the fact that like it's demons and stuff that's messing with him, obviously it just adds to the scariness of the film. And then another quick early scene, the last time I'll touch on that before I'll let you do more, is there's a scene where there's a baby monitor and the mom's downstairs and you hear like some like it's first of all it's just, once again scary just to hear any man's voice or anyone and that's not you're supposed to be in your house where your baby's at.
Yeah.
And then you go upstairs and you see this like scary like I don't even know who that really was. I think it was the really scary.
It was like the pale guy.
Yeah, pale guy.
It's like demons got released.
Exactly. There's a lot of different things in this film because I mean, obviously it gets into like a bigger lore as far as like the further and stuff like that. But I mean, just that scene alone, the beginning sequences, and once again, like those scenes aren't over the top and they're just so real, which is probably why it's scarier than like let's say a scene in The Nun where some ridiculous crap's going on who are flying around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that is a really creepy scene that I was just thinking about whether it was this one or the second one. It's definitely this one with the guy behind the kind of curtain in the baby monitor room. That is definitely a really creepy scene, especially when you hear the actual man's voice on there. That is one I really remember, and that's a really creepy one.
He like says like now or something like that,
Yeah,
and then
it's
all of a
just to
sudden,
run up
but
there.
then once again, the music once again just adds to it. You hear like this really loud voice, but then the bass drops, and then just the beat drops, and then there's just this long, like the music just plays, and then.
Well, yeah, but then I was gonna mention the other one.
More.
Well, I was gonna mention the one with the actual when they're in the further and what's the main character's free name?
Well,
the main character, Patrick Wilson's character.
The dad.
Yeah, the dad, Patrick Wilson's character, goes in to get Dalton from the further. Sees him chained down to the floor. He goes there, and you see a shot to the demon sharpening his claws on something, and then suddenly Dalton looks up, and I wouldn't say it's a negative, but and then Dalton suddenly like he's looking at us, and just the way they frame that is like, oh crap, that is creepy to think the demon's actually looking at them.
And then
you see him. Then they actually get chased out of there, and it's definitely it's a really creepy atmosphere all along, and I do like the kind of things they show with the demon being in that the further like they explore a lot of that, and they leave a lot more to be explored later in other movies.
Yeah, I mean obviously I think once again I feel like that scene alone just shows why the build up and the way that it was filmed just really just like it's just like it's scarier than like what's actually being on screen because like that scene when he says it's looking right at us is scarier than when you actually see it itself.
Oh yeah,
so.
Definitely.
But I definitely think they could have. I mean, obviously, a lot of times you see the red face guys, he's really scary. But other scenes I just wanted to touch on really quickly is there's one again towards the beginning where I think the dad and the mom are in bed, and someone wakes up and they see this like long-haired demon walking outside the house, if you like back and forth on the deck, and all of a sudden he's inside the house, and you see him again later on. Now he gets absolutely destroyed by the old lady at some point, and one of the films I'm not sure which one it was, but. At that time though, I mean, just to see like a guy with like long hair, once again, it just looks real. It's really scary, and then I mean, obviously in the film, Dalton's being like followed by this red faced demon wanting to take his soul or like do something with him, and then it goes back to why he's going after Dalton because the dad had the same issue from a different demon when he was a kid, and the mom basically didn't allow him to or I guess I basically like forced him to forget about her somehow, so she wouldn't like follow him along. And obviously, once he sees him, like that kind of gets pulled back in. It's like now we think it's an old lady, but you find out in the next one that it's not an old lady. Another just great scene when he's looking at the pictures and you see how she's getting closer and closer in the pictures, and that's awesome there.
Yeah, I've got to mention that scene in particular. That just shows how this movie just does it right, and how James Wan. This is why James Wan got the reputation he has, is because he makes these movies that are just so terrifying, and you can make it even like he can make a movie so terrifying just looking at pictures.
Yeah.
You don't need a crazy thing jumping the screen. Just that scene in particular is showing the different pictures and how the demon's getting closer and closer. In a way, the old lady's actually scarier. The old lady's scarier than the red-faced demon. But I mean, those pictures alone are just—that is a terrifying scene there of it getting closer, and if, like behind the glass and in at school, that is just terrifying.
And once again, probably because it's more realistic looking than a red-faced like horse or goat leg crawling on the wall type thing, which is scary. But like in the execution, when you see him fully moving around, it's scary. But it's just like you know it's not real. But
it's
then
not
the old
scary,
lady, you can see just like the nun. And certain scenes in the Conjuring movies, and the Conjuring 2, when she's at the end of the hallway, it's the scariest scene ever with her because it looks real. It's a real human being like that.
Yeah.
I think that's one more scene I forgot to mention was in the Further when the dad's looking for Dalton and he sees the Smiling Family. Basically, the scene's called the Smiling Family, and just once again the music. We actually just watched the scene. We both just watched it. It's like a weird just like string being like pulled and then mixed with like the shots of like this girl smiling, like even just them like. Standing in like a weird dark setting is scary alone with no music at all. But then all of a sudden, like he walks away, then he looks away, and looks back, and they're all there. And then all of a sudden they smile. Like that's absolutely horrifying. And
yeah, mainly even the build up to that. That is really terrifying. The way they shoot that and the way that all those people are smiling is really terrifying. And without even any crazy noises, there are noises, but without any like jumping towards you, just seeing the face change or being in different spots creepy. But even the setup to that with the main dad, Patrick Wilson's character, when he's trying to get in the trance, and it's kind of a funny scene, but kind of crazy at the same time, is when he's getting mad. It won't work, and he stands up and sees himself.
It's useless. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Which is just a crazy scene. Because first of all, in that situation, that would be unreal to see yourself. But that's a really cool way that scene transitions. Like, he thinks it's not working. He stands up and sees himself, and it's like, oh my god. I just remember that scene being really shocking.
And honestly, once again, just why this film just executed the storyline so well is because, like, it's kind of ridiculous to think about, like, a further area between, like, in between, like, death and reality. But the way they pull it off makes it just, like, so believable. Like you don't even question it because, like, literally... Like, it's actually kind of amazing how they put it together with the kid saying, like, he dreams about, like, flying around going places. Then you realize he's actually running around in the Further the entire time. And he's like...
pictures.
He was flying around, but then, like, during that time, like, those demons see, like, it's a real... I guess they're able to tell if it's a real person who's still alive or not. Because they're drawn to the real people, obviously. Because I'm pretty sure, like, this is said in this one or the next one, like, they want life. But then that you can also hold that against them and over them because like you're the one that's alive and they're not.
Yeah.
So that's why they use fear. Basically, I'm kind of just like guessing right now, but I'm pretty sure that's what the storyline's saying.
And the way it connects back to the second one.
Well, I was gonna mention that at the end because
even though it is the second one's the only one you can notice that, but that is crazy.
Honestly, I'll say that now. Basically, once again, just why this film is just so good, and honestly, this one and the second one, everything just like it's horrifying in the first one, but then it's amazing to see how they put it together in the second one, and it kind of takes away some of the scariness in the first one because you realize why the door was open, why things work.
Opens the door.
That's them from like the future, I guess, or whatever like that. But or I guess because he was going back. But anyway, there's just a lot of
world.
Yeah, it almost was kind of like Tenet a little bit. And I feel like one scene that we didn't really mention was the scene with that little boy dancing in the room because like that's actually one of the best lines. Actually, let's get into our best quotes really quick. So basically, they move houses, which they should have moved way earlier before they did. But they do move eventually, and you think because most movies that's actually the one thing going into this film is like no one ever moves in these horror movies, but then they finally do, and they realize like it's not the house that was haunted, it's your son. So that's probably my favorite quote in this movie is that it's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. So that's my favorite line in this film.
Yeah, no, that is a crucial line because that is the thing. It's like kind of with other movies, you kind of think to the characters, okay, all this crazy stuff's happening. You see a demon in your hallway, would you move? Yeah, you'd be out of there. You're not falling asleep again. And when they move, that's the craziest thing is when you actually see that little boy dancing, you realize it's not leaving him. And that's a big point. It's like, why didn't you just move? Well, now you know, no matter where they go, this is going to follow them.
Once again,
So that is a big quote. I mean, I guess I'll second that quote because it's really creepy.
Just that, and honestly, another thing is like just that shot alone, like because like usually in a horror film, like once again, like Annabelle Creation, during the day you could just relax and just watch the film, but then at night you're like, here we go, you have to get like you have to get like, locked in. But that scene, the mom's just taking the trash out in the middle of the day, and then you're like, wait, what's going on here? Then she looks inside, you hear a record playing, you see it's just like it just adds to like how scary it is.
The music
well, that's
in
right,
that.
the tiptoe or the
tiptoe through the tulips song. I cannot believe we almost forgot.
We have used that song a lot.
It's one of the most disturbing songs. It's like way too happy.
SpongeBob.
Yeah, it is SpongeBob. It's like almost everyone knows that song. I'll play like 2 seconds of it unless I'll probably get copyrighted. But
Redface guy, don't copyright us for that one.
It is one of the like.
We're supporters.
A song you'd think would be way too happy, but it is like disturbing because of this movie in particular. If I didn't see this movie, it might not be disturbing. Because of this movie, it is.
And then one more line before we close it up here. Basically, this was a second. This is probably second on my list of favorite quotes in this film was when the old lady said, "Leave this body or leave this vessel now." She just
leave this body now.
It's so loud because like so much crap's going on. Like there is some scary scenes like when she has like a mask on and like all the further things like closing in on them and stuff and like
the weird tongue.
That's actually another thing I want to mention was when the dad is actually looking for Dalton. All the demons are finding his actual body, which they can possess, and it's actually kind of sad if you think about it. Obviously, you see what happens in the second one, but in that scene, you think he comes back because like that's how like literally like remember how like when they're running back from like he found Dalton, it kind of sucks because like Dalton has to go to his actual body in his bed, and the dad has to go to where he is in the couch. So they separate, and when that scene happens, obviously Dalton goes to his body, and he gets there in time, but then the dad obviously you think he's there, but he's not because the old lady actually took his body, which is just crazy. Yeah. Which is another kind of funny scene was when the old lady takes a picture of him and she could have been way more. She could have like kept it to herself and like, hey, I think this is the old lady here instead of just taking a million pictures like all right in her face.
The old lady definitely makes a bad decision taking a picture of Patrick Wilson's character. She's too smart to make that decision.
I'm not sure if James Wan really knew that this film was going to be so good because if he knew this, I don't think they would have killed her off.
No.
Because as you can see in the following films from this movie, have to. I mean, it has to be a prequel, or they have to use her in some like boss mode in the further, which is like I don't know.
This is cool, but they think
been better if she'd been alive.
They definitely didn't think long term, or no, they did for some things. For sure, they thought long term.
That's true,
but not for some other things.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely this is one of the scariest movies in our lifetime for sure. It's that scary, the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And for us, I mean, it's definitely one of the most scary. It's up there with Conjuring, some of the best horror movies ever. And we do give it that title, and there's a lot of good ones to follow it, but this is obviously the best out of that group of Insidious movies.
Well, hey, thanks for watching our review of Insidious here in the Halloween series. We might be doing Insidious 2 as part of the series at some point. If not, stay tuned. We're definitely going to continue on. I think Insidious 2 is a 10 out of 10 as well, if not a 9 out of 10. Either way, it's a great film. It connects to this film in a great way. So I definitely suggest that you, if you're above 18, check out this film. And definitely check out Insidious 2 as well. Thanks for watching our review of Insidious. Let us know down in the comments if you've seen this film. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.